Welcome back, everybody. My name is Blake, and you're listening to 101.5 Smooth Jazz. Just kidding. This is the Authentic Identities Show. I got an awesome guest today. I got Jay. I didn't even ask your last name, Jay, because you don't have...
I don't have a last name.
You don't have a last name. It's just Jay.
Just Jay.
Keeping it mysterious.
Yeah, Crew. Like
Crew.
The store, yeah.
That's right.
J. Crew.
J. Crew, like the store, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, how was that when it came out? Did people think that was
ironically, the store was established in 1983, and that's when I was born. So I got to use that to my advantage in college when I would be like, yeah, I'm the real J. Crew. You want some free clothes?
Oh my gosh, dude. I bet the ladies loved that.
The ladies loved it. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Well, Jay's got a vast knowledge of marketing. He just took us to school in the best way possible. I felt like I was on the Miss Frizzle magical school bus, and they're just learning about marketing strategy, because that is something that we have been behind on. I think most business owners are, right? A social media presence and like marketing strategies, right? Because they just kind of throw stuff at the wall. And so I brought Jay on because he's a cool dude, first of all, and we're going to talk about some authentic stuff today. But also, like, I want people to know your like expertise in that area. But anyway, first, Jay, you got to pick your whiskey stone. Have you ever used a whiskey stone?
I have not.
So back in the day,
with this guy right here.
There we go. Yeah, they're a little frozen.
Nice.
So you put these stones in the freezer, but you just drop it in your glass, and this will keep your drink chilled. But back in the day, they used to just pull a river stone out and just drop it in their whiskey glass, and so it's like a really chilled stone.
So it doesn't dilute the whiskey. You get to taste the full amount all the way.
Exactly.
To
So I got some Woodford Reserve for you. Woodford Reserve is the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby, by the way, and has been for hundreds of years.
Is it the official drink of the pod?
Today, yes. So I'll fill in a little bit there.
Looking for a sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. So J. Crew, I met Jay through. You guys aren't married yet, are you?
Not yet. Well, yeah, technically.
Technically, right on. So I met Jay through his fiance or partner. Fiance. Danita Young. She was on Cody Aiden's podcast. Just had a podcast drop today. That episode, actually. What's up?
You fixed the curtain.
Oh.
Zelda's.
She's investigating. Yeah. Nah, we'll leave it. It's fine. It's a curtain. We have curtains in our studio, by the way. So
that's authentic.
It's authentic. And then we're just talking to Jay afterward, and we were just jiving. And then, yeah, you guys are like a power couple, by the way, dude. So that's awesome. But
that's rare. I feel very blessed. I think it's one of the great gifts I was given, is being able to cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
I'll pause what I'm saying just to try to savor the stoned whiskey.
Yeah.
That's really good. Wow.
Yeah, and a good tip for whiskey drinkers out there. If you smell it a couple times, some people insist you should smell for 5 minutes or whatever. But I like to smell it a couple times just to help my brain separate the alcohol and the flavors. And then it helps you. And then you do take a sip and do like a Listerine mouthwash, just swish it around, and it will like numb your mouth and you'll be able to taste it better, apparently. So.
Nice. That's like a pro tip.
That's a pro tip. That's a pro tip from an alcoholic like myself.
You probably never hear that on another podcast. So that's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was saying it's one of the amazing gifts I was given, I think, in life. Mm-hmm. We're all given really, really great gifts. And I think that was definitely one of them for me, was being able to have an amazing relationship with somebody that I work with, travel with, do everything with, live with, obviously. And sometimes that can be really conflicting for people to be in a relationship that close all the time, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, emotionally, that close. And to be able to have that all work out, everybody has their fights, but for it to work out to a point where you have a successful business, a successful relationship, we like eating the same things, we like starting to turn into the same person. It's just it's very rare. So it's a beautiful gift that, I get to take with me, hopefully for the rest of my life. So,
and I couldn't agree with you more, because I'm in the same boat. Mal, my lovely wife, we run this business together and we just love it. It comes with a whole set of challenges though, right? Yeah. You're like so vulnerable to that person because so much is riding on both of you to be a team. Mm-hmm. And when you're not a team, on those days that come up every now and then, you're like, it slaps a little different. It stings different, but it also gives you more reason to like find a resolution quickly, because like a lot's riding on that, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, I think if you want to like progress your marriage, if you think you can handle it, or your relationship with somebody, I'm like, go start a business together and see if you survive. You know?
Oh man. Yeah, and it's not for everybody. That's not like a piece of advice I would give somebody. Say, hey, go start a business with your wife to improve the relationship.
Yeah. It would be to test your mettle.
It would definitely be to test it. And then if you did do it, you learn so much, because in business, like they say, the business works on you, you don't work on it. So it works on you so much emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even physically. It works on you to be your best self in order to have the best business. And then if your wife is also trying to be the best version of herself at the same time, it forces you both to grow exponentially together. And I think that's where a lot of marriages probably not work, is because one person's growing, the other one's not.
Dude, that's some wisdom right there from J. Crew. Locations are available on Google. You can find those shops. No, that's such a cool name.
Yeah.
No, that's like, dude, you just dropped some gold right there, man.
I think it's the whiskey that's talking.
The whiskey that's talking.
Already.
It does help a little bit, right? Loosens the tongue.
Yeah.
But let's back up a little bit. You got some wisdom from Jay. We just poured a drink, cheersed it up. So Danita Young was on a previous episode of AI, so tune into that. It was the one previous of this. And it was an awesome episode. We talked a lot about philosophy. We got to hear Danita unpack her story of just overcoming these insecurities that were just ingrained in the culture. Her and I had a similar background growing up Mormon, LDS. And when you start waking up, you realize how much baggage a culture like that can leave you. And not to knock on a religion, we did that enough in that episode. So I met you the first time you were over here supporting Danita, because you guys are in business together, and so she's kind of the face of the company. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's your company you guys do together?
We do a health and fitness brand where she helps teach and coach mostly women how to look and feel their best, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're more of the tech side and the marketing and like the operations of that.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
And then she's like the actual brand herself. Like
she's the face.
She's the face.
She's the beauty queen. She's the Cinderella.
Yeah, she's out there, and she does a great job of that. You guys have awesome social media pages and an awesome product too. And the coaching itself is the product that's even more valuable, I think, right?
Right. Yeah. And that, the coaching came through just like pain, struggle, and failures. We didn't really even know we wanted to do any of that kind of coaching. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you were saying, with her background and being an ex-Mo, as they call it, like an ex-Mormon, she was an ex-Mo. I mean, imagine, like, she can't even imagine herself being a coach to thousands of women, even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, when she was a Mormon, Oh, yeah. And so it's not like she sought to be a coach or anything like that. It just kind of came about through a lot of the pains and struggles that she was going through, that she's helped so many people. And just being the authentic person that she is, she just dove into headfirst into how to help improve people's lives. And it's not an easy job, and I don't think that's for everybody, but she just authentically is that person. It's incredible.
It just like resonates. Both of you guys, like, I don't think she would be attracted to you if you didn't resonate with some authenticity as well. Because that's all she does, right? She's got that.
Well, not so fast. No, we'll leave that up for debate. No, I think, I think, well, so another thing with relationships, she's one of the first, probably, the only relationship I've ever had where I was able to like really look up to the other person as well.
Oh, wow.
I went on a deep spiritual journey myself, and it was kind of hard to find somebody that could stack up to that as well. Just for me, it was my journey. It was hard for me to find that person, right? And she was able to just keep up. Now she's far beyond me, and now I'm trying to keep up with her. And so I think that's what she is mostly attracted to.
Oh, cool.
Just answering your question is that she's attracted to the fact that I kind of helped jumpstart her spiritual, emotional, philosophical journey, in a sense, of helping people. Sure. And then she just took it to the next level.
She took it and ran.
Yeah. So,
dude, that's, I think that's such a part of like masculinity is like to be a teacher, either to like a younger generation, to a son or daughter, but also to a spouse or partner. Like there's a lot of things that a lot of guys have learned and they enjoy sharing that. It's like it unlocks something in you that you didn't really know. If somebody's like hanging on your word and they trust you, it's very masculinating. I'm like, wow, I got to be careful here, right? But yeah, that's awesome to hear. And so, like, let's talk about that though. Your spiritual journey, actually. So you guys run booty bands, right? Bootybands.com.
Yeah,
Is that the plug?
We've actually moving away from that and really just focusing on the coaching side.
On the coaching side.
DanitaYoungFitness.com. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Just leaning into her brand. That's great. And that's probably coming from your marketing genius, right? Yeah.
The amplification of her message and the growth of the business is coming from that. Mm-hmm. I mean, any business can grow organically if it's really good, if it's a really good offer, if it's in an industry that's really needing that solution. Anybody can grow organically, but I'm just kind of speeding it up through the marketing strategies in a sense, right? So I think without me, she would eventually just
like she'd figure it out.
Yeah, she would crush it. She would grow really well.
Yeah,
just because her message is just incredible.
You're just the accelerant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're like the NOS in the engine.
Just a little bit of rocket fuel in the back end, you know?
That's awesome, dude. So let's back it up though. Early life. You were born the same year that J. Crew, the institution, was established.
Yeah.
Right. 83, you said?
83, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Where are you from? So where you're here always in Utah or no?
No. Oh, wow. Okay. So a couple lifetime stories you got to tell to who you are.
That's what I want.
That's where the depth comes from. That's where the reality of stuff comes from. Right. Yeah. So I was born in Honolulu. I'm an Army brat. Both parents were in the Army, going everywhere, bunch of different stations, military bases, and constantly trying to adapt in schools and cities and things like that, which if anybody's ever had to do that, there's a gift and a curse to that, which is you're able to get up and move on the fly. You're able to adapt. You can be friends with anybody. You know, I can walk into a room and talk to anybody and pretty much be able to learn something about somebody and be friends with them pretty quickly because of that. Yeah. The downside is you don't understand how to build really deep, meaningful relationships. I do now because I've had to force myself to, and essentially like through pain, because you're thinking, I'm on to the next, on to the next. So I had to go through that for, the first 10 years of my life of just constantly moving around, And then our home base, I called it, was in San Diego. That's whenever we came back from the Army bases and we needed to be stationed somewhere more stable, because my parents weren't very stable, as most kids in the 80s weren't. Our home base was San Diego. That's where my grandparents were. So shout out to all the grandparents out there that end up being the best part of the parents, Yeah. They're
like that anchor.
They are.
Holds, especially a military family, man. Yeah. Grandpa. They're always in the same spot, right?
Yeah. And so our home base was San Diego. We kept going back to it. Then something pretty crazy happened where my mom, my parents broke up, divorced when I was, I think 6, something like that.
And are you like the oldest child? Do you have siblings?
Yeah. I'm the oldest child of my biological brother who recently passed away.
Sorry to hear
so
that,
it's just
dude.
me, biologically. And then I get into the adoption story, which gets a little crazy.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. That's the other lifetime. That's the second lifetime that I want to, kind of get into or whatever. And I feel like everyone has like 3 or 4 lifetimes by the time they're 40,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but the first lifetime was just being the Army brat, going back and forth. My mom, just kind of relying on other men. Mm-hmm. Ended up dating this guy, and it was just a really bad abusive situation. He was abusive to me, he's abusive to her, mostly verbally, but that stuff kind of sticks with you longer than physically as well. And then he was from Connecticut. So she met him in San Diego, and she's like, oh, he's going to take me back to Connecticut and change my life and whisk me away, Cinderella style, right? And didn't happen that way. So we ended up moving to Connecticut with him and living with, him and my mom and stuff. And then that was right around the time when you start to develop as a kid, where you start to get really just anti-authority in the home.
Yeah. So you're like 8, 9?
It started about 8, 9. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I remember being like 8 and 9 in school and just being like, I'm going to throw this eraser at my teacher. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Right.
she's not looking. I'm going to hit her in the head with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I'm the oldest too. And so I don't know if you're like me, but I feel like this, like I can only take so much of how people tell me to do it. I'm like, if I do it my way, but I still get the same result, like what's the problem?
Right.
And so I was like always kicking against whatever was happening. But I don't know if you relate to that in no certain way.
I mean, when you come from quote unquote broken home, you don't feel safe there, and you want to just do it your way, because the way I'm at home right now is not safe. It's not clearly not working, for you emotionally and physically and all these other ways. And you think, well, I got to take care of myself. So my way, let's do it my way. And if anybody tells you not to do it your way, you're like,
you can only count on yourself, really.
Yeah.
If it's that inconsistent, you're the constant, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What was it like at that age? What was like the attention of your parents? Was it like, if you could give it a percentage, were they like always down your case? Are they always hovering over you, or like they just completely not even caring?
That's a good question. My dad wasn't there. My mom was, I think my mom's kind of like, I guess you would consider a young soul. She was just always trying to figure it out. And I don't think she really understood how to raise kids, how to really take care of herself. And that's why she relied on other men so much. And that's where this abusive relationship with my stepfather came.
It was like almost permitted.
Yeah.
So she could be adequate in other ways.
Yeah. So, I mean, her level of attention was there to her best ability. And she wasn't down my throat really at all, because I don't think she knew how to like be the father to me that I needed as a kid, as a young man, in order to grow up to like give that discipline, Yeah.
And like props to her. I mean, she's got to be the mom and the dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I think a lot of single moms out there are trying to do that same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So she wasn't necessarily like hovering over you, or was she always like dusting you off, picking you up? Like,
no, none of that. I think she, in a lot of ways, she was just kind of there and did the best that she could. And I love her for it. She's amazing. But as far as like teaching you lessons as a kid, supporting you with love that you feel is unconditional and safe, that wasn't really there, And I know I'm not the only one that has had that, but that was just like my experience. And the only way that I came out, not like dead in jail or in a gang, not in that order, but the only reason dead first.
You join gangs after you die, folks.
Was because of my adoption family.
Oh, okay.
And I think that when you grow up with just such a volatile home, it's really tough to overcome that in your 20s and 30s, 40s, at all in your life, to have really good, healthy relationships with yourself and other people.
Sure.
I would just be a mess if I, didn't solve those things. Be in and out of jail for sure,
Dang.
And that got prevented. And so yeah, that's kind of like,
that's like early. That's your first life.
That was my first life. That's life number one.
So then you get, what age did you get adopted? How did that pan out?
Yeah. So I was getting physically abused and verbally abused a bit. I came to school one day, my best friend, who's my foster brother.
Oh, cool.
John. I came to school and I was just beat up. And I was just like, man, I'm just having a tough time. He's like, you want to sleep at my house tonight? I'm like, yeah. Forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you got Nintendo?
Yeah, right. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And so it just so happened his mom was the Department of Children and Families in Connecticut. So she ran, like, wow. She actually, in DCF. So she actually helped. She was a big help in helping kids, foster kids, battered women, like in that situation, really helping kids. And she could have her whole life adopted kids for years. Mm-hmm. And getting to the story of how she adopted me, she chose me, which I always feel like, God put an angel in this world just for me. And she was one of them.
Wow.
And Danita, you're the other one, I swear. And
there can be more than
there's
one
more
angel.
angels. Yeah, there's plenty of angels.
How's she going to take
And-
that? Is she going to be all right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I went to school. I was all beat up, and he's like, sleep at my house. I kind of explained to Lorraine, my adopted mother, my foster mother, what happened. And she's just incredible. Like, she's like the Dalai Lama in a female version in America. And I explained to her what happened, but she didn't push because she knew exactly how to talk to kids who are beaten and all that stuff. And so she was like, just stay here let's let things cool off at your home.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay here for like a week. And I was like, this all day, a slumber party for a week, man. I'm going to, I would love that. And then next thing you know, I was 13, I think, at the time. And I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes, but what she was doing was preparing me for adoption, for foster. Foster is a little bit different than adoption, but she was preparing me to get fostered. And it came down to me making the choice of whether or not I wanted to stay with them. Mm-hmm. And that required some really strict and specific things that I needed to do. I needed to go to therapy. I needed to stop doing drugs. I was doing drugs at a really young age. I was drinking at a young age, right? I couldn't do drugs, couldn't drink, and I had to go to therapy. That was the biggest one for her, was therapy, because she knew like the person I was, she saw the light in me. And I think everyone has a beautiful light in them too, that they just need somebody to see it and just believe in them and love them for it. And sometimes believe in them more than they believe in themselves. And she did. And so she was like, you got to do all this stuff and you got to go to therapy, because you're going to end up, still in a gang or jail or dead if you keep going on this path, even at my house, because it's like ingrained in you all these years at that point.
That's like your neural pathways. They're like all.
Yep.
That's crazy. So at this time, you had a biological brother at this time, or did that come later?
Yeah. He was kind of more passive, and he didn't really get a lot of the abuse him and my mama had a different kind of relationship. So they kind of, it was good that they had each other. So when I left and I stayed with my foster family, he stayed with my mom. She ended up splitting with my stepfather and went back to San Diego, the home base. Yeah. Right. So that was good. She had a home base to go back to. That was incredible. That's the start of the second life. And then from there, just long story short, I guess from there is just years and years of therapy, reading tons of books. There was no podcast back then. Imagine if there was, right?
I know.
Just tons of books, and realizing that in order for me to, I had a chance to go to college, which I wouldn't even think I was going to be able to, get through middle school. Right. And so I was able to go to college with her. I was able to graduate. I was able to do all these things, but I had to go through a lot of therapy and do a lot of things to be a better person and be the best version of myself that I could. Yeah. And so that led into me starting a business after college, and I was able to be the best version of myself for somebody as amazing and authentic as Danita. And that took years. Like, it took me, a
lifetime.
Yeah,
that's
it took me a lifetime to be the best version of myself, to be able to have somebody, also amazing like Danita. So
it's kind of interesting how the universe just like places people in your path, but it's a reflection of you almost. It's like what your self-worth is what you're given. And like, there's a lot that's out of our control, obviously, but it kind of is like, it just reflects back at you, in my opinion. And so a lot of people too, if anybody's struggling right now or has kind of a similar background, if you could describe what's like the work that you did. You say going to therapy, but like, what does that mean mindset wise? Were you like hesitant about it, or did you kind of realize that this was important? Did you lean into it? Because like people say, I did the work. And I think a lot of people don't know, like, what does that mean? Because like I could picture doing the work if I was building the house, like I'm carrying lumber, I'm hammering nails, or like I'm working on a farm, I'm like chucking hay. Like the physical work in this world is like the easiest part to me. It's just like, oh yeah, you build it, you do it. Follow the IKEA instructions. But like the internal mental work, it sounds like you started making conscious decisions about that at like 13. Because you understood the stakes to some degree. Is that a fair statement?
Yep.
So what does that work look like? What was like your 13-year-old Jay going through that? What was your mindset there?
I mean, yeah, in the beginning, so if you're going through something similar, you don't have to be 13, right? You're just coming out of something, realizing I need to put in the work to be the best husband. I've been through so many divorces or breakups. I need to find the right person. I need to find the right business partner or whatever. Just keep a job and trying to be the best version of yourself. In the beginning, you can kick and scream the whole way, right? Yeah. You're just like, gosh, I don't want to do this. So,
especially if it's like an external force that's making you do that. But
I mean, the work in the beginning was just understanding like, what is therapy? Like, why am I just talking to somebody and letting it out? And in the beginning, there's phases for me, and it's different for everybody else. In the beginning, it was a fully expressing and just letting out what it is that is blocked and held inside you. Because we can actually measure emotions. Emotions and thoughts can be measured, and the emotions get blocked and stuck inside of our body. And I truly believe if an emotion stuck long enough inside your body, that's what causes disease. It's lack of ease because it's so clogged and blocked, and somewhere in your body you're holding anguish, aggression, fear, resentment in some organ or somewhere in your body where it's stuck, right?
And it's like a chemical compound in your brain is making an emotion, but it's also a frequency, right? Mm-hmm. Have you heard about emotion code?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
How's that? Because you're speaking that language.
Right.
Yeah.
He's actually around here, or he was from here.
Yeah, he's been in our studios.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. We've had a couple emotion code practitioners do podcasts here as
that's awesome.
Clients. And I was like, what is this? And then they worked on me and fixed some shoulder pain in like a day. And I was like, maybe there's something to this. And it was like, drink water, you're going to be tired. I was like, hogwash. And then I was like, I slept like a baby and I was dehydrated. So I drank. Like, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But anyway, on that track, keep going.
His book is amazing. That's
real.
Great. That stuff is real.
It's very real.
And the ancients understood that. Like, we're the first culture, I think, I don't know about ever, but in a long time, that doesn't tap into that true, like, what is the human body is really made up of, and, and emotions and the frequency and things like that.
Yeah.
We are, I feel like, back to kindergarten in this current era. It's crazy.
I agree with you. I don't think we're that technologically advanced. I think we've gone down a different path of technology. And if you were to span out or if you were to pluck like one, philosopher or anybody from each ancient culture and like they sat down and compared cultures, I think we would be the laughing stock.
Oh yeah.
Because of all the knowledge that's hidden from us. But I think they would come at us with a little bit more sympathy, because I think we've been deceived more than any other civilization or era of human existence. I don't know, of culture, I guess. But dude, I'm tracking on that, man.
Yeah,
you bring up the ancients.
100%.
People who say the ancients like usually know what's going on with that. But yeah, the ancients knew about these emotions and frequencies. And I interrupted you.
No, I love where the conversation's going. Basically, in the beginning, it was about expressing myself. So if you're going through that really hard time, trying to like reinvent yourself, being the best version of yourself that you can be through expressing the best version you can be, the way you talk, think, act.
So like it's more action based. Like I'm acting like this person. I'm expressing it through tone of voice, words that you choose to use instead of like. So you're like, is it kind of like you're more consciously choosing something, and you're like were you kind of like, man, I shouldn't have said that? Or
yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it's fully letting go and expressing out, shaking out. There's a ton of, I forgot the name of the tribes. There's a tribe that they shake whenever they're angry or frustrated. You should try this sometimes. I do it all the time, actually. Whenever you're frustrated, anger, fearful, whatever, that emotion can be blocked and stuck inside of you. And if you actually shake, it's why some people, when they dance, they feel so good afterwards. If you actually shake it out, and like pull up the emotion of what you're feeling, shake it out, and then release it. Afterwards, after you're done shaking and feeling that emotion and that vibration as you're going through it, when you're done, it feels like it's completely gone.
Dude,
right?
That's interesting.
And so when I was younger, when I was trying to express myself through the beginning of this therapy session during the start of life too,
yeah.
In the beginning, that's what it was. That's what I realized what it was. It was expressing it out. But it took so long because I was just talking it out. And then eventually I realized what they're trying to do and what I'm trying to do is get all this dump this baggage, this garbage that's held inside of me and express it out, because that's kind of what they're taught in the medical books of how, let's talk this out. Let's think this out. Sometimes you need to do more than just think this out. You need to act this out. You need to get this out.
Well, that's hard for a 13-year-old kid who's probably going through puberty.
Yeah. Exactly.
Got like testosterone through the roof. Like, you see the corner of a magazine with like women, like a women's magazine. You're like, whoa, like, you're like, oh my God.
I'm going to express myself now.
Whoa. Yeah. And so it's like, that's like all of like young masculinity, dude. It's like, as physical as possible. That's why you're the most active. You're playing the sports. Like that's like the best age for military service. Like, cause you're just ready to like shake it out in a way of sorts. That's, I'm thinking at my 14-year-old self, just like, I was always confined and grounded. So I was like just losing my mind, but that's interesting. So it was a combination of talking it out, but like, so what did it look like shaking it out? Were you like punching trees in the backyard?
I mean, that's a form of therapy for sure. I didn't do that as much, but I mean, like if you go work out, you run, you always feel better afterwards. It isn't just because of the endorphins that you experience that help your neuro pathways in your brain get more clear. It is because of the actual energy that's stuck in your body. That frequency is different than the 432 hertz inside your body that's normally running.
Yeah.
That frequency that you have, that negative emotion, is stuck there because it's a different frequency, and you need to get that out, right?
Yeah.
And so then when I was just talking it out, it took a while for me to go, I need to actually physically get this out and act this out. And so I worked out, I played basketball, I moved around a lot, I did a lot of the shaking stuff that I was telling you about. I tried different modalities. And so that was the start of my spiritual life, which would be like life 2 that I had, which was, not religious, but spiritual, like, there's something deeper here. And I recognized that there was a spiritual life because through therapy and getting through the failures of trying to be a better person, the best version of myself. Otherwise, no one's going to hang out with me. No one's going to talk to me. No one's going to want to be around me if I don't fix this. And that led into spirituality.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So during that process, did you feel like you started uncovering like authentic self, like true self?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would define like an authentic true self is, I think it would be honesty without fear.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're your most authentic version of yourself, it's you being as honest and vulnerable as you possibly can without fear, without any fear of judgment or somebody judging who you are, or you yourself judging who you are, and not care what the outcome is. So sometimes it's hard for you to admit, like, I'm screwing up big time here.
Yeah.
I'm this person. I'm that. Can you be honest without fear at all of the outcomes? That's like the most authentic part you could be. The hard part is constantly walking through every day, being as authentic as you can, being as honest as you can without fear. That's the hard part. And the other hard part is that a lot of times our authentic self and our thoughts and who we are is sometimes a culmination of other people's opinions, the podcasts we listen to, the books that we read. And sometimes that's okay because they took a long time to formulate those thoughts, and those could be really good thoughts, and it's okay, and ideas. And it's okay for you to have those thoughts and ideas too. But how much of those are your own? And how can you extrapolate those thoughts and ideas that you've accumulated to be a little bit more of your own? So I think the authentic self of who you are is honesty without fear and the least amount of external influence from other people's opinion is possible, but is still really valuable. Like,
dude, I agree. Wow, man. I've never had, even myself, I've never been able to articulate that. And you just bridged a lot of gaps. That's a beautiful way to articulate that.
Well, I don't know if that's even true. I just kind of thought of that just now. I don't know if it's true. It feels right, so don't quote me on that or whatever, but
that feels pretty authentic to me. Yeah. Say something in the comments if you agree, dude. I'll drink to that. I'll cheers to that, bro. That was, dude, I knew this was going to be good because, you and Danita both have this air of authenticity about you. And so when I was watching Danita, I was producing for Cody's podcast at the time. And and then just jiving with you guys afterwards, I was like, I got to have Danita on my show. And then jiving with you I was like, got to have Jay on here too. So it's like, plus you guys are just doing some cool stuff. I did not know. This is a cool story. I think that you should incorporate this into your coaching, bro. I think people would benefit just as much from your story as they do from Danita's, because that's a powerful, powerful, powerful thing, man. What you just shared, the authentic self. Say it again. The authentic self is you being
I think
honest as possible.
Yeah, it's honesty without fear.
Honesty without fear.
Yeah, and not having external influence to an extent, knowing where that external influence is cut to, and there's a gap between what is completely theirs and what's yours, and asking yourself honest questions like, what I learned from this person, like how much is that really true for me, and being authentic to me. Maybe not all of that is. And a good way for you to find out, let's say you learned from this podcast and you thought some of this was true, and you're like, I'm gonna like think that way or live through that, and take a lot of that advice and kind of carry that in. Straw man and steel man it. So like you can be like, I learned this thing so that's come from somebody else's opinion. Let me straw man and steel man that, so that whatever I take into my life moving forward, it's more part of me rather than theirs. Is it just straw man and steel man it? How
can I own this in my way?
Exactly.
Right. And that's what I was getting at the early part of the earlier in the podcast. I said I'm like, if I can do something that's like my method and I'm still getting the same results, right? And it's something like more arbitrary. Like I had a hard time fitting in a cookie cutter shape of what was expected of me. And I was like, but I'm not that. And I just was always fighting for my own identity to be present. And I was inverse of you. I was smothered by a culture and parents and a religion and to be a certain way. And so like I was just being forced into this shape that I naturally not. And I was just fucking miserable all the time, like miserable beyond reason. So
how long did it take you to get out of that?
I didn't get out of that till I started getting out of it when I was like 23, 24. Didn't get out of it till I was 26. You know, because getting out of that means cutting ties with like family sometimes, because they're in it to win it. You know, it's the one true church or the one way to live. And you know, I think I've been disowned by my family like 3 times now. So come back, but so I'm like, I don't know how serious they are about disowning me, because they keep letting me back in. But they're good people. I think they've grown a lot too in their journeys. But
are you the only ex-Mo?
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and I'm the only one that's
left?
Officially left the faith.
Wow.
They're all devout. Like, right. Some of them have wider perspectives than others. My siblings are kind of waking up to some things, and it doesn't have, you don't have to like abandon your faith, right? I did on my journey because I had a different path than most, and I saw things and I didn't like, and that was the decision I came to. But I can't enforce that on other people. I've never tried to recruit people to my way of thinking. I've always just tried to open people's perspectives about things, or argue their perspective, because it might be maybe limiting them, or it's limiting my relationship with them. And that's kind of a selfish reason, but I'm like, hey, I want to connect with you more, but I drew lines in the sand where like I literally, it's so far removed from my authentic self. Like I have to be honest about it, right? Without fear. And sometimes that comes across as abrasive. Like I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be honest without fear. And if you don't like it, that's okay. And I love you. And I want to, maintain a relationship with certain individuals, and those individuals don't necessarily like what I say when I'm honest or when I'm being real, or it's just too real for them and they're not used to like that topic being brought up. Right. For example, my brother and his wife were considering new employment. She's a stay-at-home mom, and he was looking for a job. This was many years ago. They got a newborn. They're very religious Mormon, and he was weighing his options at a dinner. And mind you, I have served in the military, and I've been around people who drink, smoke, do it all. And I've never used that as a judgment of character. I used to. I thought people were bad if they smoked. I thought people were bad. So anyway, this story, he's concerned. He's completely Mormon, drinking the Mormon Kool-Aid. They're happy. They're having a great life. And he is considering a job that pays more, he's considering taking a job that pays less, because the job that he was offered that paid more would require him to travel, and he might accidentally end up traveling and then be asked to go to a bar with his coworkers. And a lot of Mormons, a lot of people don't know this, they are trained and told that your testimony and faith in your religion will literally evaporate you. The Holy Ghost of God, the Spirit of God, will leave you if you enter an unholy place. And then like after that, you're just helpless to this testimony crumbling out of you. And so the idea of him going to a bar and drinking a Pepsi and being a DD for some coworkers literally broke his wife's heart to the point where she was crying. Because and I suggested it. I was like, dude, it's not that big a deal. Like you travel once a quarter, and like you can just go get a Pepsi. Like you'll be in a hotel lobby bar drinking a Pepsi, and then you just go to bed. And then his wife like broke down and cried. My family called me this bad influence.
Yeah, enabler. And
so
negative way.
I took a hiatus for like 2 years after that. I was like, I can't be around people that are this. At the time I said some bad words about it. I was like, you guys are, that's a pretty dumb. That's a pretty narrow mindset.
Well, that's an interesting journey as far as like you had to break away, be the only one with zero support, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. So you had to have a lot of bravery into the unknown. Then you had to sever your identity, create a new one, which is very difficult, especially around that age, with zero support. And that in itself is like the true like shift and the true pursuit to authenticity. You're like, I'm going to do this at all costs with zero support, nobody around me, no one's going to help me, my family's going to disown me, and I'm just going to go be authentic to myself. So I mean, point, like dude. how could, if somebody's going to ask and they need to I don't want to say like expel themselves from their family, because it could be from something different. It could be a community or anything like that.
It might be an answer for you. I wouldn't recommend it. Don't be willy-nilly about these things, but do what feels right for you, and then be honest without fear. And that's hard to do. Sometimes bravery is required for that. No one's ever been that insightful about my little backstory there, dude. That you're like a shaman, bro. Thank you. These are wise words from J. Crew.
That's years and years of working on yourself and therapy and all that. It's like it's. I think when you work so deep onto oneself and what you do, it's almost like, man, you should. This is nothing. You should have saw all the pain I had to go through to get it.
Well, it's easier for you to third party advice, right? Because as a third party, you can come in and say like, oh, I see the pattern. Yeah. But like those are some deep patterns that you had to unpack, and so you have the gift now to see those in other people. And I think that's often forgot about healing. When you yourself heal, and you go and do that work for yourself, you start looking back retrospectively at yourself, and you're like, you start seeing your patterns. And then you can help other people see theirs just as a third party. And, as long as you're not overbearing and like condescending and stuff like that, it'll probably be taken. But the fact that you picked up on that, like, that's exactly right, dude. Like I literally had to abandon an identity and form a new one. I just remember being like, I was unpacking a lot too about my military service. That's a whole nother story. I felt betrayed because you get to see under the curtain and you see the ankles of the Wizard of Oz. You kind of start questioning everything. So not only was I questioning my reality and my faith, but also like my servitude to a government that is kind of pulling the wool over our eyes. Like for those of you that are out there, I'm very patriotic. I love our Constitution, but we're not the good guys by a long shot. We're like the Empire in Star Wars. And so I was unpacking that at the same time. We'll save that for another podcast. I think I've done that on other podcasts, but
link, it's right here.
Yeah, it's somewhere on the screen. Yeah. But that's very insightful. I've never had somebody pick up on that or phrase it like that, but that's exactly what I had to do. That's kind of the birth of this podcast, was like, whoa, like I had to find some authenticity in my life, because being a cookie cutter person for a religion is not authentic at all. That's compliant. That's sheep herd mentality, right? Like, I kind of love the sheep analogy that Christians use. They're like, he's the shepherd and we're the flock of sheep. And I'm like, that's very fitting of you sometimes, because, what's unique about a sheep if you're all the same? And, it's like, I'm like, that's a kind of a very low blow. It's a very controlling story, manipulation. And when you start understanding how to manipulate people or to, on a large level, influence people's, actions and stuff, like religion's got it down pat, like, so I think there's a lot of good things you can get from religion. So don't take my word for it, please. This is just the internet, so chill out. But Jay's got those are some really nice. I take that as a compliment, man, because the fact that you can see that, man, that tells me all I need to know about what you've unpacked and all the therapy you've done and self-work you've done to come at it with such a measured view like that. That's
and
awesome.
I think
It's awesome.
I think we as a country are going through an identity crisis right now. I think people within it who are, if you are in the process of trying to identify like who you really like your best strengths are and who your potential to be. So we'll just call that kind of like an identity crisis. Yeah. If you're going through that at the same time the country is, and maybe your community is, that's like it's a double whammy. It's a double wham.
Dude, that's
tough.
We can unpack that for a second, man, because I think you're right. Right? Like,
because everybody has, like, sorry to interrupt you,
No.
Everybody goes through multiple quote unquote identity crises.
Yeah.
And so you find out you actually don't have an identity. And then you eventually are like, all right, I'm going to stop trying to seek that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like this adventure for labels. What labels can I attach to me? A label solves your identity crisis, I think, faster than you can. And so we're so quick to do that. I love the color green. I love this band. I only listen to this music. Have you ever been like listening to music with somebody and they're like, I hate country music.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, that's a pretty limiting label you just slapped on yourself. Or like, you'll never see me drive a Toyota. I'm a Ford man. You're like,
Yeah.
Cool label. Great. Like that's like an identity that I think people slap on themselves to cover up their own lack of identity. They're like, I'm a rock climber. I'm this. The biggest one I've seen. I'm a U.S. Marine. I was with them all day, every day. Like I was one,
Yeah.
And they're like, once a Marine, always a Marine. I'm like, yeah, it always is a part of me, but like, I'm not always a Marine. Like that doesn't signify that I'm growing as an individual if I need to like kick indoors all the time and like, but that was a huge label. It's an identity thing. I was so proud to be a Marine. Right. I loved being a Marine, but that's just one part of my identity, right? And that people are so quick to patch all these labels on themselves.
Yeah, and I think like if the further you can get away from identifying yourself, the more authentic you can be.
Oh,
So like if you look at any group, like we'll take the identity group think for a second. Who's the most popular person in that group, the most influential, right, of that group? It's the one that's the most authentic. So then, okay, let's strip away the identity that they have in that group. How capable can they be outside of that group? It's probably infinite. They could be, they could be like the number one podcaster, or they could influence a whole community around them, or
the
whatever.
best on the team.
Yeah.
The best. Yeah.
Because they don't have so much of that label, and people I think people instinctually recognize when somebody is identified as something and they're kind of turned off by it. And then when you see somebody who's not an identity, but their true authentic self, here's the thing. The thing is that every single person has that ability, but they are stuck either not in their authentic self or they're stuck in the identity of other people.
So they kind of box themselves in.
Totally box.
Yeah.
They can get outside of that box, of that identity, that groupthink, that whatever they're at, and be their most authentic self. Everybody has that potential. It's like everybody could be their own star.
Yeah.
That's the tough part. The tough part, which I think I'm getting out of too over years, is realizing the death of the ego, not identified with any group, and being as authentic as possible. It takes time.
It does, man.
But through that journey of getting through that, you learn incredible things. You peel away layers, of that onion, and you get to the core. It's pretty intense.
It's scary as shit too.
Very.
And it's not this like big thing. Like I didn't find myself climbing Mount Everest. I wasn't on a rocket on my way to the moon to find out who I was, right? Yeah. Like I found pieces of myself along the way. Like, you know, in the hardest day I had in the Marine Corps, like I found a piece of myself. Like on the best day of my life at the park with my dogs, I found a piece of myself, right? It's like, it's multiple things. And there's some that are more climactic than others, but it doesn't have to be this like Marvel movie, dramatic, cinematic event. It's like the place I found the most of myself was like in the depths of being lonely and alone and being just sitting with my thoughts, just in a shitty 1-bedroom studio apartment, right? Like
There's no distractions.
no distractions. There's no
Forces you to.
and that's where rock bottom is. Like
Right.
rock bottom is like the true self, because people are like, I fell to rock bottom. Well, like authenticity is at rock bottom, folks. And like the layers that you build up of your fake identity is what causes, that's what you're falling off of. People don't like, you're not just like at a baseline and then you fall into the depths of hell.
Right.
You're falling off of a ledge that you've created. I'm the ego guy. I'm the best guy, the billionaire, philanthropist, you know, porn stars on my shoulders at every event, like that kind of guy. And then embezzlement and fraud charges hit you. Boom. It's taken all away. You fall off of that identity. And now you're prisoner 24601 from the, I just remember that number from Les Mis.
Oh, that's a real number.
Yeah, that's a real number.
Oh,
He
geez.
sings about it in the musical Les Mis.
Wow.
24601. I'm like, I used to make fun of it all the time because I had family that liked it. But that's
Yeah.
kind of my take on it. Is like that's rock bottom. It's like you fall off this fake identity and you
Mhm.
land there at your true self. And it's like, if you're not, no one's ever ready for it, but it's like horrifying. You're just sitting there with your own thoughts and your own self and your own existential crisis, whatever you want to phrase it as. And you're just like, you're looking in the mirror and you're just seeing you. And you're seeing past all the labels you've been hiding behind, all the fake, like, do I really like Sum 41, or am I a Blink 182 guy? Or like, what am I really? Like, what does music have to do with me anyway? Like,
Yeah.
what if those bands didn't exist? What would I be? You know? So
I think a lot of people in the business world suffer from that too, including
Totally.
myself. I did a lot where I was like, okay, I know how to make a lot of money. And then that's my identity, is making a lot of money, you know, and then you then start doing the comparison thing.
Mhm.
It's very easy to do it when there's only a select few people that know how to like make a lot of money. And it's easy to compare yourself to them because you're missing something that they have that you want,
Yeah.
because it's a never ending climb.
Mhm.
And that happens significantly in the business community.
Yeah,
And
they're
it's-
like locked in this eternal journey to just make more money,
right.
to grow bigger. What's your goal this year? Billion. Like, you
Mhm.
know, what was your goal last year? 2 million. And now it's 1 billion. And like, just gets out of control. That's a big reason why we are very selective with our podcast clients from a company standpoint. And we don't like to, like we're very careful around these self-proclaimed self-help podcasters, right? Like everybody has a lot to offer, but we just know from experience, we're listening to some successful people say over and over again, I just don't understand why somebody would choose this job over, or this income over this income. I just don't get it. It's all about the resources I make, right? And we're just sitting there going like, oh my gosh, like we're allowing this to be out there. Like, I don't know if this is us. Like, I don't even think this brand that we're doing work for is supportive of our identity or our, you know, authenticity. But yeah, it's that the self-help world like that. You got to be careful out there. Like, be very careful, like vetting people. And if you're looking for something specific, if you're trying to better your income state and like make more money, like, yeah, you should go seek that out. But like, they're chasing their tail a lot. Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Yeah. I mean, I actually I worked for somebody who is still in the self-development space, really popular person. Most people probably know them. I won't say who they are.
Sure.
They're part of the movie The Secret. You know, the movie The Secret, The Manifestation.
Oh.
It really helped bring out self-help, manifestation, personal development into more of the mainstream.
Yeah.
It was a movie that was created in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it brought a lot of eyeballs to that
Yeah.
philosophy.
And I was not the CMO of that business. I was working towards kind of doing that. this was when I first started taking on B2B service-based clients. And I ended up just working with them full time because it was a lot of fun. And I was going through my spiritual journey and they were perfect for that. What I realized when we started putting hundreds of people together at an event was after a while, it was the same people going to the same event over and over again.
Yeah.
And it was called like the warm bath effect, where you go to this event, you're in the bath, it's warm, it's awesome. I'm going to do all these things. You leave the event, you're like, I'm going to go change my life, change the world. You get out of the bath, it's cold, it's cool. Now you're not warmed up, and you kind of experience the same thing. So I kept seeing over and over again that a lot of the strategies in the self-help development space were not actually so much strategies to like actually overcome it for good.
Yeah.
But it also wasn't strategies to perpetuate the problem, to keep you coming back to being a buying customer. But there was almost no end goal pathway for you to fully get out of it. And granted, to the self-help and self-development personal space industry, they're doing their best to be able to do that. That's where they're supplying education, videos, podcasts, courses, and things like that for people to really get out of it. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it's not saying it's their fault or even the person trying to experience the self-help. Unfortunately, there's not like an end goal solution for that person to kind of get out of it, so that they're no longer buying the books over and over again, buying the programs, going to the events. And sometimes those are great. Like you go to those and you feel amazing. But if you're going there to find actual permanent change and help, you don't need a retreat.
Exactly.
You can do it, like you said, sitting in a room by yourself. And that's the hard part, because it's a cost of hard work. A lot of those retreats, a lot of those courses and things like that are just a real true distraction. Mm-hmm. If you can get the information, you now know what to do, then just go execute and do it and get it done.
It's just a supplement, really.
Right.
It's a booster. It's outside perspective that you can gain, but it's not a benchmark. It's not because everybody's benchmark, everybody's progress is also completely personal. And so you have to kind of make those on your own, and you might do it subconsciously. I remember just being like, man, I really got to change some things. I got to overcome this chip on my shoulder. I felt so betrayed. I wasn't even really proud to be an American. I wasn't even proud, just because the career I had and all that stuff. Those of you who know, you'll know. So I'm not like some, I'm not like a communist or anything. So chill out. But
you commie.
Yeah, you scumbag. But just coming to some realizations, and then the real work for me, benchmarks for me was getting physical, shaking it out, but writing.
Writing's a great one.
Collecting my thoughts, and benchmarks for me was I'm going to get this part of my life under control. And that was a benchmark, getting a better job that paid better, upgrading from that studio apartment to a house, finding the right woman. Those were all benchmarks for me. So you're not going to get this aha moment where you meditate and then all of a sudden you're downloaded all the answers like Neo from the Matrix, he just gets a download.
Yeah, it's a slow drip. You'll get one at a time,
exactly.
Here and there, little bits.
Slow drip.
Because that's not, because you don't fully be the best version of yourself. You don't fully get to your end goal without the failures along the way, kind of fail your way to the top. But you have to go through little pain by little pain to get there.
Yeah.
So that when you do get there, you stay there. Because you want it to be sustainable. It's just like losing weight. I could show you how to lose 10 pounds in a week, but you're going to gain it back next week.
Right.
I can show you how to be the best version of yourself next week, but it's going to be a lot of cover-ups. Might not be your true authentic self. You'll feel like it's your best self, but it won't be. So you need as much as people are scared to go into that dark room by themselves, if you want to sustain it and you want to come out the other end good and not have to go back to it, then you just gotta, it's less pain.
Absolutely, dude. There's usually the quick answer, the quick solution is probably not the best long-term, right? I mean, it might be, right? Sometimes you got to solve something quick. That's fine. But to give an example is I know a lot of people that are supplementing with TRT, or they've done peptides and stuff. And a year goes by, they're feeling amazing. And then talk to them again and they're reliant now upon that substance, right? Their body. I know people that have supplemented so much with their testosterone that their body like it's not making enough because
Right.
it's getting it from a pill, right? So there's like grounds and limitations and stuff like that. It's like they go for a quick solution rather than, hey, maybe I could just use this to supplement from time to time, and they're like, I'm going to do it every day, every week, everything. And like, what happens when you don't have a cold plunge? And what happens when your like immaculate morning routine is interrupted briefly? Like, you know, and you can't get your run in, you can't get a 40-minute saunas in, you can't do a cold plunge, and you don't have any like pills, or you ran out of Celtic salt to drink with your stuff, and now you're like, oh, I'm out of whack. It's like you've been relying on like so many little tiny rituals rather than like the ritual is in your mind. It's like anywhere I'm at, I can stop, look, listen, recenter myself, and be present to the moment and just enjoy Dallas International Airport, right? Like wherever you're at, you're like, I'm not sitting there worried about, did I take my supplements? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that you can get wrapped up into like the ritual of your day and stuff. And, yeah, I don't know if that's where the conversation was going, but that's what came to mind.
That's where it's at.
Yeah. Well, dude, these are some wise words from Jay. I want to turn the topic a little bit though.
Let's do it.
Let's talk more about like enjoying your life. Where currently today, what's the thing to do, activity, place to be, or whatever, where you're your most authentic?
Me?
Yeah.
It used to be travel and surfing and spending time with Danita. Actually, I love client work. I love helping people build their business online. That was really, and it still is. That's like, I don't know. I feel people probably get it wrong and thinking that they need to go somewhere else to and do something else, like in a vacation or travel or something like that, in order to have the best time. I think people are going to, if they haven't already, realize that service is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so I think if you could find that in your work, then you don't need to go anywhere. You can be anywhere and do it, right? And so for me, I mean, it's always going to be travel. Danita and I travel probably 5-6 times a year.
And it doesn't sound like it's coming from a place of escapism.
No.
You guys are like
It's
exploration.
Yeah. Travelers, not tourists type of thing and things like that. I don't know. I feel like for me right now, because I'm expressing my true authentic self to helping others essentially get rich or build their business and make money and help others. I'm helping them so they could help others. And I'm helping, and a lot of people do that. So I'm helping directly and indirectly. I think that is where, to be honest, I think if you can get to that point where service is where you just love to be, I don't know. I think that life becomes so much easier, because if you try to like, I got to leave my job to go somewhere, we all have to work. We're going to work, most of us, until we die. Right. And then once you get retired, your body's so beaten down, you ain't going to be able to walk up and down those Italian stairs, going to travel to Italy. It's just too much.
How was the Colosseum? I couldn't see it because my head was...
Yeah, so you're waiting to retirement to go to those places. Good luck. I've traveled all around Italy 5 or 6 times, been to Italy, and in my 20s and 30s, and it's tough. So, side note, if you're waiting to retire to go travel, I promise you it ain't going to happen. Do it now. But I think, honestly, it's a weird thing. Kind of going back to what I'm saying, I think people are going to start to realize that of service if you could find that service in your job, you don't even call it a job, just service and helping others, being a place of where you find, the activities of what you love to do. If you can get to that place, I think you kind of made it.
Yeah.
And that's
like
kind of where
slot.
I'm at, I think.
You're like in the slot.
Yeah.
Like that's it is.
And maybe the next thing, after this isn't, helping or being of service, it's doing something else. I just can't imagine it would be though.
Yeah. I think to put this to a term that's common in podcasts, but I think you're in alignment is a term a lot of people use. Like it's in line with you. Like your work suddenly has become play in a way. You're like, it's a challenge. I get to wake up and do this and solve problems, and I'm useful. And I'm also got some expertise in this area. Like we just sat and listened to Jay for 30, 40 minutes, and he just gave us the farm on like media strategy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we needed to hear. Like as a company, I can see my mind is still bubbling with possibilities of what we could do. So
that's great.
Yeah.
See that I love doing that. And I think if you can
you can tell.
help somebody else do that, that's where you got to be. And maybe somebody's asked us, well, I don't know how to get there. Or let's say you're already there, you're already in business and you maybe don't love what you do. I think that pursuit is how you develop the skill that makes it sustainable and makes you love it and things like that. So just keep eking away at it until you get it.
And I got to say too, it's awesome I can tell you're in that slot because you're speaking authentically. I feel that authenticity, but not once have you discussed like how you would benefit or like what your cost would be, your price or this plan. And like, there was no sales tactic, which makes me actually want to like actually use your services if you have them out there. But cause you guys have a good thing going with booty bands and the coaching that Danita's doing and everything like that. So you're basically just showing me how you execute on it. And I was like, I felt like I was talking to a good friend about getting advice for my business rather than, something that's equally as good of advice, but it's a product that's being marketed to me. It was really good, dude. Like, and if you were listening to us, you're like, this is your business. You're like, I would go this route. And I'm like, that's what I was feeling. It was like exactly what I was feeling.
If you get to that place, so let's say you want to make more money, and if you get to that place where you love being of service, whoever's hiring you, or even if it's your business, you're going to make more money because that's not the goal. And what's crazy is you're like, I want to make more money. And then you end up loving what you do so much and getting so good at it that the money is then not the goal anymore.
Exactly.
The money is still the service. And then the money comes as a byproduct of it.
Yeah. I was just about to say money is the byproduct of your of what you're putting into like value other people, like, or bring value like that. Like, and that's a common self-help trope too. It's like, add more value, you make more money. But people are going like, I want to make more money, so therefore I will add more value. And it's like the other way around. Just focus on the value. Like you get caught up. We always get caught up with the end. What's in my bank account right now? I would tell door-to-door guys, we'd go door-to-door, right? Selling a high-ticket product for their home. It was replacement windows, energy efficient doors and windows. Right? So it's high-ticket stuff. And I'm watching these new guys come in and they're literally like, they're 21 years old. They're broke. They're living off ramen. They got like, I could tell they're broke just because of the way they're talking. And so we do a couple doors and I watch them just flub and they keep looking at me and I'm like, I'm not saving you, I'm like letting them, trial by fire is my teaching method, right? So they're out there and then I'm like, yeah, you open for some feedback now? Like I don't say anything for like 5 doors and just give them some encouragement. Hey, nice job. That was good. Don't worry about it. Let's do the next one. And they're like, you're not going to critique me? I'm like, I will. We're going to do like 4 or 5 though. So we do some doors and then we're sitting there chatting and I'm like, so dude, tell me honestly, like how much money is in your bank account right now? He's like $27 or, $8. And I'm like, you are speaking at people like you have $27 and you can't like you're speaking commission from your breath. Bank account. Yeah. Commission breath. I should have used that. Damn it.
Commission breath. They could smell it.
Exactly, man. I'm like, so you're preaching at, you're talking to these people from a $13 bank account.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you do that? I'm like, why don't you just talk? I don't want you to talk about windows at all. I just want you to talk to this next person and find out what problems, how much they like their home. What's so great about their home? Why do they like this neighborhood? Don't even say the script. I'm like, just knock on the door and like, whatever this conversation goes, you can leave. And we did that. And it turns out they were moving or they were renters, but he got all the information, why they loved the home. And then then eventually they were like, well, what are you doing? And then he just said the script and he set an appointment. I'm like, there you go. That's it. Easy.
Yeah.
Like stop, get out of your bank account, get out of that. Just get to the value first. There's so much wisdom in all that, man, because we're very much like very karma oriented in our business. Like I'm going to do something because I think there's good karma in it. Like if I get a reward, like we had I guess a friend of a friend referred us because a couple, I think 3 people, they all died in a motorcycle accident not too long ago, or beginning of the year. And they were like big influential in some motorcycle, clubs. I don't want to call them gangs, but like motorcycle clubs. And anyway, they needed some videographers, and we were like one of the only companies and individuals that would just do it. And they're like, we don't have a budget, and we just want to honor these people. And I was kind of protesting at first, and then Mal told me the scope of it. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's awesome.
Let's just go help them. And we made a pretty sick ass video that they played at like funerals and stuff. And it just was like, it just hit us in the feel goods. We just kind of did it for them, obviously, but we're like, you know, we want to serve too. Like, let's like, it made us get our heads up out of the books, out of the bottom line. And at this point, Mal, like, we were struggling pretty hard, right? It was rough, and we could have been using our time for other things, but
karma came back.
Yeah.
You know, it gives.
Yeah,
So,
I think so. It boomerangs back, yeah. But
big boomerangs, yeah.
there's some wise words, Jay. But in closing, is there anything else that you feel the audience needs from you?
No, hopefully you guys got something valuable out of this.
I did.
You know, so
I appreciate it.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Real quick on the end, this is a new thing I've started doing. What do you think the purpose of life? What's your definition?
Purpose of life,
Mhm.
definition. Oh man, that's a good question. I think the purpose of life, honestly, it's going to sound, I don't know, I guess cliche, but I think if anybody tried to give a definition of purpose of life, it'd probably sound cliche, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody knows it.
Yeah, we're all trying to do the same.
We're all
thing.
trying to find the answer. I think it's just of service, man. I really do. I think that, you know, you're gonna die with nothing, and by yourself with nothing, right? Which is scary, but it's true. And I think if you were to ask people on their dying deathbeds, and I think I've even heard this, all of the stuff that they either regretted or wish they did, or the advice that they give is so basic. Like, just spend more time with loved ones.
Yeah.
I wish I gave more. I wish I did that thing that I didn't think I was going to, that I told myself I just can't do, and I just regretted, right?
Yeah.
I think all of that just kind of comes back to service, either service to yourself or service to others, right? Like, do what you know is required for you, that you have to do. That's going to be the best for yourself and best for other people. Like, do what's required. And this, I'll say this, if there's one thing I can leave to people that I was saying, no, there's nothing else I would leave, is there's a difference between doing your best and doing what's required. And I have to explain this sometimes to, not high level management, C-suite level players, but hiring bottom up, kind of more beginning team members, is, hey, this is what's required for the job, or this is what's required for us to accomplish these OKRs, which are objective and key results. It's kind of a business term or whatever. This is what's required for us to obtain the OKRs. This may actually not require your best. It may actually require half of your best. I don't care. As long as what's required to get done gets done, that's important. If it's required, if what is required is more than your best, then you need to be better at what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that when you do your best, you do more than what's required. And so what's required becomes easy. So hopefully that math breaks up in that formula. So the thing that I would say to people is, like, find out what is required for you to do in life, for you to be the best husband, the best wife, the best business partner, the best employee, the best version of yourself. What is required? Not the best version of, I did my best. What was required for you to do it? Were you not supposed to, watch Netflix half the week? That's not, obviously it's not your best either, but whatever that is, find out what's required versus what's your best, and focus on that. You're going to add more value. You're going to be of more service. You're going to make more money. You're going to be a better lover. You're going to be the best for yourself, and your life will just become so much easier, I think.
That's some good wisdom.
So the purpose of life, I think, is serving us. I guess you could say, is like, be of service to what is required of you, and try to enjoy it in the process, I guess.
I love that,
and
man.
Then be open to be wrong about what the purpose of life is.
Yeah, subject to change.
Subject to change. Next podcast, I'll have a different purpose.
Dude, and I'll definitely have you back on. I like to check in with people from time to time, because the true journey of authentic self does evolve, right?
Yeah,
what you claim your authentic self is currently might be subject to change based off, world events, current things, whatever it is. Maybe you just, had a deep thought in the park It's totally, it just evolves, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I appreciate your time, dude. I'm going to shake your hand, dude. That was some of my funnest conversations. Like, I think Jay has brought some of the best one-liners that I've heard. Like, when someone drops a one-liner, sometimes they feel like, okay, how long did you practice that in the mirror? You know, still a good one-liner, but these were so authentic, man. Like, I appreciate your wisdom, dude. And you're truly like a masterful presenter of this marketing thing, breaking it down really like Barney style for me. That's the Marine Corps term. You break it down like Barney and Friends. And he was like drawing circles on the whiteboard. And I was like, oh, I can actually follow along. So how can people find you, Jake?
I would say, I guess, like, you know, we didn't talk a lot about business and building your business online. So if you wanted to find me for that, you can just hit me up on Instagram at my Instagram handle, I think, is JADACREW, Jada Crew. My website, 7Fig Fit Pro. 7Fig Fit Coach. 7FIG, 7Fig like figure, fit like getting fit, coach. 7figfitcoach.com. But honestly, I would just direct to Danita's. You know, if you wanted health and wellness, being the most optimal self-health and wellness, go to DanitaYoungFitness.com.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of my focus is. I'd say client-wise, as far as me helping people build businesses, it's not as substantial as me focused on what Danita does.
Right on.
And building that, because she's the one that I want to get the message out more.
Yeah, she's got a powerful message, man. And I think that's awesome. That's in line with your purpose of life, is just to serve.
Yep.
And that's just what's required of you at the moment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're all hands on deck for Danita and her brand, and it's also your brand if you're there contributing. So yeah, you can find them there. Also bootybands.com. I think you have Jay just at bootybands.com. That's my email I have for you.
Yeah.
If that's all right, I'll share that. And then
or Jay at 7figfitcoach.com. That one's probably better.
That's better. Cool. Yeah. And if can we encourage people to reach out for you for philosophy stuff like this? Like this was
I like talking about stuff and helping people.
Cool.
So 100%.
Yeah, man. And also, if you want to be on the podcast, just drop a comment below. Thank you for tuning in. Again, this has been Authentic Identity. I'm your host, Blake Norton. And keep it real, boys.
Keep it authentic.
Keep it authentic. Keep it authentically. I always try to do the most awkward outro ever.